Good afternoon. Hello there to everybody. Welcome to another Kerfuffle Showcase. And I am excited. Actually, this is your first time on this one, isn't it? But you've done the webinar. You've done the webinar with me and Mincy. So this is the professional side of things. You can see. I'm going for my full. Actually, I was going to say David Bellamy, but David Bellamy probably means absolutely nothing to an Aussie, does it? As usual, great frame of reference. Milton, fantastic for joining us again. And I must admit, sometimes I can say this because it's only me and you. Sometimes when we get people coming on here and they talk about what the title of it's going to be, it's a little bit sort of, well, that's a bit underwhelming and everything else. But you've given me data is a game changer, which again is a bit of clickbait to somebody like me. So you can hold on to that for the minute. We'll delve into that. But for the moment, many other people will know you as Inspect Real Estate.
Correct.
Do you want to just give us a bit of background? And I can see Zoe's just arrived as well. So Zoe's one of your fine clients. And so we'll bring her in here, and then maybe you can give us a bit of a background.
Sure. Hello. Oh, I just stuck you in there.
Sorry.
Hello, Hayley. How are you?
I'm fine. I was just going to put something as my job title, and then I was advised against it, so I'm not going to say what I was going to put.
Was that somebody from our fun prevention office at Kerfuffle, or
no? It was here. I had a straw poll as to whether I should put it, and they said no. It's probably a little bit offensive to some people.
Tell us, what was it going to be?
I'm prop tech whore.
Well, unless you were going to put that on mine, I don't see how that could be offensive. Anyway.
Well, I like it. Can you go back out and go back in again and let's put it back up?
Let's deal with the most. You are competing now with Matt Nicol for never mind prop tech whore, Kerfuffle whore. I know. Oh. So thank you.
No, Tom McGee has the prize there, mate. Tom McGee will always be the one.
Don't say his name. He's like Candyman. He'll appear. Right. So, Milton, we were just going to kick off. Do you want to just give us a bit of background? It's IRE now, but that is still, as far as I'm aware, stands for Inspect Real Estate.
Yes.
You give us the full background about the business and how you ended up over here.
Cool. We got to go back to 1998. Andrew Reese, who is also the CEO of Inspect Real Estate, he had his own lettings and management business, no sales arm, called Pro Rentals. Where I kind of had my first introduction to real estate. Met Andrew as my first gig in real estate. He had a lot of problems. His agency, he started with like 30 or so, ended up with about 1,750. Had a lot of problems that other agents probably still or do have or have had. And we had a software company called, I probably won't name them. I think it was called Console, who've only just gone to the cloud, got on the console. And we asked him, can you build some stuff? And they said they would, but then they didn't. So we kind of just went, well, we got Mike, and Mike is actually Andrew's brother-in-law. He's a coder. So he started building some stuff, and we kind of had our client accounting system with Console. So we kind of just built stuff in and around it. They sold that business, had one client for their first year in Australia. We have about 26 to 2,700 clients across Australia and New Zealand. And I think we've got about 100 or so here in the UK. And that's how we got to the UK, is because I badgered and pestered him and said, in my short stint in lettings here in London, I thought it had a place. So after many years of badgering him, went to Arla in 2018. We got a few leads. We did some testing and beta testing, and then we've got a product that's quite localized now. It's helping people. Hopefully it's helping Zoe in different respects and other people around the country. So, yeah, but this one is the first hardware product that we've released out of all of our software stacks. So, yeah, we're pretty excited about this one.
I genuinely thought it was some sort of like Ibiza rave sort of. I was getting so excited, and then you said it was all about keys. But look, I appreciate the importance of that. So we're going to come back. We've got Mincy, who, as you can see, is bitterly kept off the show now. The injunction there. So big fan of obviously Zoe there. and Kerfuffle podcast. Very good, David. Okay, so Milton, ultimately, there it's one of those stories that I think I like to hear. I'm sure Zoe, and it would be interesting to get a view, will concur. Is that actually this isn't an ivory tower techie business. This is somebody from real estate, from a state agency, who was actually experiencing all these issues and went out a bit like our friend Christian at the depository and created a solution off his own back to solve those issues. So it's been actually prepared. It's been prepared in the hot furnace of an actual estate agency office. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got all these different issues, and I think there's a lot of software companies out there now. It's happening everywhere, and I think it's just going to be the way that the industry, I guess, evolves. But I guess the difference between us is, we, like you said, we were like right in the hot seat, and what better person to give that sort of software and go, look, this is what it really needs to do, than a real estate agent. So that's kind of how it grew, and it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of tagline gets thrown out there, but they say it's agent-driven, agent-built, but it really, really was its base root. Every time we do any sort of, integration, development work, bug fixes, it's always basically based on clients saying, hey, can it do this? Can it do that? It could do this. That'd be pretty cool. So we have this huge list of which we kind of prioritize internally to make sure what's going to give the biggest benefit to the most of our client base, and we work on those things as part of our subscriptions. Don't charge people because everyone kind of wins at the end of the day. So that's kind of, I guess, the ethos behind it all.
And Zoe, when did these guys get on your radar?
I've probably known Milton over 2 years now, maybe.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Initially, we were working with them with the Inspect Real Estate viewing front end marketing side of things. And then I spotted this, I think it was an agent Rainmaker do to start with. And I'm one of these, anything that's shiny and flashes a bit, I'm drawn to it anyway. But to be honest, with 17 years of experience in the industry, and keys are the bane of my life, they always have been. We're a mid-range size office, about 200 managed properties. So we're not massive, but it's still a pain in the arse, pardon the French, when you're dealing with keys. But this one is... And then it's one of those things you think, you see that advert for coffee in a bag, and you think, why hasn't anyone thought of this before?
Yeah.
It is so simple to use and so obvious. And since we've been using it, it's probably about 2 months now, so not a long time. Not any problems. It's been brilliant, really. And it's just so easy. Any of you.
I saw the video of you looking up at these keys as if they were David Beckham. But anyway, I love about what you do with that machine when the office is closed. So Zoe, can you just sum up? I mean, I know they are the bane of our lives. It sounds such an obvious one. Why is it such a problem for especially lettings agents?
I think there's a lot of reasons, and the world will jump on me for saying this. Some people just take keys for granted. They forget to realise that this is something that's probably got the potential of 100,000 plus at the end of it. They put them down. They get what our busy office is like. You get distracted. The phone rings. You put something down. You leave them in your handbag. You forget to tag them up properly, or you put them in the wrong place in the drawer. It's like a multitude of reasons why it's just a pain, and then you get a set that's been put in the wrong place, and they're not right. You chuck them out, then you realise, like, well, actually, shit, they were for somewhere else, but then we've lost them now. It's just, I just think there's a little bit more of a slapdash attitude around it, and we've tried all sorts. Back from the original having a book where you wrote in it to having a little sort of zappy thing you used, and even that we still had problems with it. But this one just seems to, like I say, it's so obvious and simple. It flashes one colour if it's this, one colour if it's that. If someone puts something in the wrong place or it's not there when it should be, an alarm goes off, and you can track who's been doing what with it, so you can have them in the corner and say, oh, where's them bloody keys? It's until you start using it, and don't get me wrong, it's AP, but it's saving me a lot of money by not having to go changing locks and all the other expense of dealing with that side of things.
Are you able to quantify at all, or even just guesstimate how much time it's saving you at all? I mean, is there obviously when a key goes missing and everything else, that can be how long's a piece of string and everything. Is it just that you're cutting down on more of those issues, or you're able to actually sort of put a figure on it?
I think it's too early to say an actual financial figure, but just looking at, I mean, obviously at the front end, you have to install the thing, but even that didn't take that long to do. Once you know what you're doing, you've got a little app, you just zap them on, you stick them on. So it's really, really simple. But it's just things like reserving sets of keys for contractors, especially in the COVID world that we're in now, where we need to know who's coming in and when they're coming in and what they're coming in for. You can reserve a set of keys like a week or whatever in advance. You know who's coming in for it. It changes colour on the panel, so you know Joe Bloggs is coming in for that set of keys. And it's also that it sends little reminders out to these folk. Don't forget you pick them keys up, and when they collect them, you get an email. He's collected them keys, and they're due back on Tuesday. So there's that time-saving element. But again, when you lose a key, what we were having to do is literally go through manually every drawer. So you're looking like 200 sets of keys. Getting out the file with a photograph of the keys, holding them up next. So you could take hours of your time wasted on messing around, whereas now it's there in shiny flashing lights.
I guess you've got other things you could be getting on with.
Yeah, like trolling people on Kerfuffle podcast.
How many hats do you have?
I've got 4 now. 4 bottle hats. Yeah. Thank you, Susanna Maverty. That's all I'm going to say on that, man.
I know she steals them at every conference we ever go to, so that's good. Okay, so I mean, we've obviously kind of jumped ahead of this, but Milton, give us an overview, really, of what Keyware is all about. Then, what does it do?
Basically, what it's trying to do is eliminate anything manual or laborsome around key reconciliation, administration, or what we used to say, you kind of touched on it there a little bit as well, Zoe, was that like the non-money making tasks of your agency. Because if you've got staff behind it, could they be doing something else? Are they doing it properly? They're wasting time doing it as well. But basically, rather than having to do any sort of administration around Keyware, what you have to do is basically look at the panel itself, and all the keys and the colors basically tell you where they should go. So green's good, blue's out, purple's overdue. And then if it's flashing blue, it'll tell you it's got the key actually is on the wrong hook. So it's telling you where it actually should go as well. So mismanagement around keys becomes a thing of the past. Anything that's red has been taken illegally. And all those messages that Zoe sort of touched on as well is it's saying, hey, these keys are about to leave your office without a proper loan. It contacts all your contractors to remind them, say it's overdue. They can extend the loan. All those different things that go around keys, which is really important because I do remark on it when I actually do a little bit of a demo on it. It's kind of interesting because I kind of like in keys to be, I mean, almost as important as like your client accounting. Like your money is really, really important because that keeps your business afloat. But the keys in around your office is like you've got viewings to get deals done. You got inspections to manage your properties. You've got contractors. So key is actually quite a focal point in an agency. It definitely was for us when we were agents because if you've got a Saturday run and your keys aren't there and you're like, well, shit, do I cancel everything? Then the deals go out the window and those opportunities get lost. And all that work to get them into your viewings is just a waste of bloody time. So I think, the premise of I can just look at my keys because as soon as you put the keys back in the board, they check them back in. Everyone gets a digital signature. You take them off. The person gets a digital signature to take them out. So all that administration around it goes away. And I guess rather than having to reconcile, it's reconciling live in real time. So I can look at that and go, I know the colors of my keys and go, that one's out, that one's there, these ones are there, that's fine. This one's out, someone's taken it legally. And that person, we can even track who looked at keys last and things like that through cool little user activity logs and things like that. So we know what's happening with keys. So yeah, the key management is hopefully a thing of the past.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, so basically, and unless they're colourblind, you simply can't miss what's going on in the business in this area.
Not at all. So you can kind of put that away. And it's interesting because it's interesting about what costs go into running the business. And I find that, there's a lot of different things that happen around technology, particularly this is talk about real estate, for example, because that's our vertical. it's like, you know, the revolution of software in the real estate industry is a big part of it. And it's just like, we're not trying to replace people. We're just trying to get people where they're supposed to have people, like your client facing things, as opposed to looking through an ice cream bucket looking for keys. That person could be out doing valuations, or, you know, working on customer service, or servicing your landlords in your property management sector a little bit better as well, rather than going, can't find keys, and everyone's just running around like, you know, a headless chook, which is just a waste of time and resources.
Chook is chicken, just to throw my international expertise into the here. Tech legend and Aussie translator, so you know. Off camera, this isn't obviously there is software element to this, but clearly this is very much a hardware based solution as well there. So how important is that in terms of making sure that the quality is right in terms of that? I think this is where really your spread as a true global provider comes into play here, doesn't it? Because although you've got a growing, obviously, client base over here, you've got a huge client base of almost 3,000 agents around New Zealand and Australia, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So obviously that's where our base was. That's where we started things off. Keyware is, I think, over in 600 different locations now across the globe. So it is a working model. And obviously we have working models here in the UK, which is proof of concept as well. But it's international. Like, you know, people have keys and they have key problems. It's just, the funny thing is, everyone sounds a little bit different, where it depends on where you come from. That's the only difference, really, because landlords have properties, they have keys, you've got to manage them, you've got to do inspections, you've got to do viewings, you've got to do everything else around your management or your lets. So it's the same problem just everywhere. Everyone's just got, it sounds a little bit different.
Was there any localization needed for this, given that, as you said, it's fairly ubiquitous? A key is a key, and the process is pretty much identical, isn't it? I'm imagining this was just get it off the boat, get it in and get it.
get off a boat in China and send it straight to the UK.
Yeah,
pretty much. The localization for Keyware was really sort of minimal, because keys, or the property and the assets that we have within the actual tech, key management is key management. But what's interesting is the Keyware team back in Australia, they're sort of looking at Keyware being, well, is Keyware a problem in different other verticals? So that's now becoming a focal point of where they're going to take Keyware now, because Keyware will fix problems in agency, but, you know, does it have, I guess, a purpose sort of outside of our vertical? And, you know, the signs are good so far. So they're doing some beta testing around that, just going off on a tangent just slightly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's that. You're talking to me. That happens. It's obviously there's a number of different solutions out there. What do you feel that the kind of the UK market, without, you don't have to obviously name names, but what do you feel it was missing out of? Where was it not meeting the challenge of the job?
I think it's like anything. You know, everyone's got different problems to solve, and whether that sort of hits the, you know, is the problem big enough against the price point that it's kind of, I guess, thrown at it to say this will fix the problem. But I guess in terms of just Keyware in general, you know, there's a lot of people out there with a lot of key issues. Maybe I'm just throwing a real sort of just stab in the dark here and saying, like, I would say probably 90 to 95% of agents, letting in estate agents throughout the UK, will have some sort of key issue. The 5 to 10% are probably the really small startups who can do manual recs, and they've got, like, you know, 10 to 15, 20 keys that they're managing at any one time, which is manageable. Yeah. But I guess it's when you start to grow and you've got more humans that are, I guess, in that process. And that's probably the one thing we talk about a little bit, is the unquantifiable. You know, we're trying to eliminate the human error. When you've got more people touching keys, taking keys out, aren't really signing them out, that's where the problem does exist. So the biggest problem we found is, you know, not overstepping the mark of what the problem probably really is, as opposed to the solution, the benefits it will provide to your agency when we talk to agents about, particularly with key management around Keyware. So yeah.
And Zoe, you're one of the leading, obviously, franchise groups in the UK, certainly in the lettings realm as well. And this key management issue, your peers across the group, do they echo the sorts of problems you were having as well?
I think problem-wise, yeah, I think Milton might have a better or a clearer picture on how many we've signed up. And obviously the ones that haven't, I'm not quite sure why they haven't. You know, it's like I said, 17 years of this, and in the last 2 months my life has been so much easier. And like I say, it almost feels like, well, you know, where where's this been for all this time? I think some suppliers, unfortunately, overcomplicate things. So they make it complicated. So then what you want is, and this is going to sound really bad because we're not idiots, but you want something that's idiot proof and something that's really simple. So like Milton says, if it flashes one colour, it's this. If it flashes another colour, it's that. One of the things I found with using other suppliers is that I was moving the kit around the office because people were still forgetting to use it. Whereas this, everyone knows it's in the big cupboard at the front.
Yeah.
And they go and use it, even though there's a lock on it with a combination. They're actually making the effort to actually go in there and use it. Whereas before, it was very complicated, and you had to do this and then do something else. Whereas this, you don't even need key numbers. You know, it's getting your head around the fact that you don't actually need to know what number key it is, because you just book it out and it flashes and you take it off. You put it. There's a little thing at the bottom that you hold it to, and then it tells you where to put the key back to. Don't know why I'm doing that. You know, it's just simple. And like I say, you just wonder, why on earth didn't anyone think of this before? Why didn't I? I've been making loads of money now. But that's the truth. When you're running your business, you almost need somebody to come along and say, look, I've got this solution. You know, because you don't have the time to be thinking out of the box like that. So
it's one of the hardest challenges of suppliers, I do know, isn't it, Milton? You must get very frustrated where you know this genuinely is the solution for probably 95% of the people out there, but you almost can't get them to pay attention to just get your foot in the door to show them about it, because they just assume, look, keys are a pain in the arse. You know, it is what it is. But you just need opportunity, don't you, to really, as you said, get that flashing behind you.
This actually is the carry case. In fact, I actually walked into Normie and Co. after what was his name? I can't remember because he actually had seen something on one of the Facebook channels. So I was actually in Manchester with the carry case doing some other business. So I actually just went, knocked on their door, had a bit of a chat to them, and it does have that sort of wow factor, because there's something actually physical. You can touch it, you can see it, it's really interactive. But you kind of hit it on the head, because it's funny, because some people will have key problems all the time and they won't do anything about it, and then they try and quantify it by saying, well, this is the price, and they go, oh. But then you have those conversations about, well, have you lost keys in the past? How much time are you spending doing reconciliations? How much time are you chasing keys? And they can't really quantify it, but they know it's happening. And that's downtime. That's wasted time. That's staff resources wasted, opportunity costs wasted. These are things you're kind of thrown into the mix. And it's not a sales tactic. Like, it's a real genuine thing you need to consider as a real estate, business owner or branch manager, whatever it may be. But, some people have to have enough pain with keys to make that jump, because they can see that there's a definite, benefit or plus side to having keyware or a really solid key management system inside their office.
David's always, in fact, he's just jumped up. David's always telling me that North Manchester's really, really safe, but you can get away with it in North Manchester carrying that, but don't go through central London with something like that flashing, because you might not make it out again.
Oh God, probably not.
Serious.
They're pretty good.
A rather large flashing dashboard that looked like the control panel at NASA caught my eye. So,
thanks, David.
straight from the horse's mouth. And what does how does the admin side of things in particular help agents? Working online. What tools are? I mean, I can see obviously it makes perfect sense to me what I'm looking at now. But how does it work behind the scenes?
Yeah. It has a new look as opposed to some of our, earlier versions of our Inspect Real Estate platform, which Zoe obviously is kind of seen. It has a different look and feel, but it's pretty straightforward. But I guess the one thing that I always try and point out to people, as opposed to any keyware system or key management system, is because it's live reconciling all the time, and particularly in this kind of new world we're in, if we want to call it that. What's interesting, a lot of people were kind of leaving their lounge seat. They've got some key swap overs with some contractors. They go, well, I'll just check my software with whoever they were using their key management with, and they're like, yep, the keys are in, perfect. Walk into the office, and they're like, shit, where are they? And they couldn't find them because they said they were signed in, but were they in someone's side compartment? Were they in someone's handbag? Whereas with keyware, you actually know if they're actually in the office or not, because it's actually saying they are, which helps with that key management side of things as well. And what's interesting, you see a lot of, and not to name names, but there's a lot of big corporate companies who have satellite property management departments that are basically managing, inventories and viewings and maintenance from a satellite office in X, but they actually have all their stock in London per se. And this is the type of solution that would really help them manage their property stock more efficiently, because they could actually go, yes, I'm going to organise a maintenance contractor to go out for 10 Smith Street down in Fulham, because I actually know the keys are in the office, because the keyware panel is saying they're actually there on hook, number 19 on panel 2. Organised, no one's time get wasted. The contractor comes in, he picks them up, he gets all the reminders, and everyone knows exactly where they are and where they should be when they're coming back. So yeah, I think those are the big pluses I think keyware could provide to an agency, all those efficiency things as well.
Yeah, it's sometimes not the sexiest side of things, but it's the one that most demonstrably you can control, isn't it? And that's a critical point. Obviously, if you are going to make margin in a business, anything you can do to keep your costs down has got to be one of the first things you try to do. Zoe, you using a CRM system for the lettings and property management side of things? Well, you would have been, obviously, but did that have sort of key management aspects in it? And where I was going with this is, if you were using that previously in the CRM system, have you stopped using it almost completely to go with keyware?
We're using a quite old CRM system that's not cloud-based, but we were using it for keys. Never successfully. And like I've said, I've tried other suppliers, not successfully. The only thing we do now with the CRM is any extra sets of keys, because the way Keyware is set up, it's literally for the keys that should be in the office.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you've got vacant properties, to rent or sale, whatever, for sale is probably a bit different, but for rent that haven't got tenants in them, we still use the CRM for a minimal amount of keys. So they're like the extra bits kicking around the office. One of the things that was really useful and really cathartic for me was that when we set all this up, we had a massive clear out of all the crap. And now I'd say we're a much more efficient, streamlined system in respect of dealing with keys. Because the only keys realistically that we do need, in addition to the ones on the panel, are the vacant properties that the tenants have vacated, because you've got extra sets of keys. So now we're running really efficiently, and we use the system, but we don't then to book them keys out until the tenant moves into the property. So realistically, we know exactly where every set of keys is now, which was not the case beforehand. So I think there are some CRMs that link to keyware, but I think all that they really do is import the names and addresses and property. So realistically, you don't necessarily need to use your CRM for key management if you don't want to.
It just stops that basic duplication if you do want to have it. Are you able to say which ones they are, Milton, or are you bound over by NDAs?
I'm bound to say that we do have stuff in the pipeline. But so I guess to further that bit of a conversation is, we've always been very sort of pro integration. So if people want us to work with this person because of whatever, endpoint keywords, because we have other product, plugins on solutions and platforms. So whatever the client wants, if we have some mutual agreements between us and, whoever, we'll do whatever they ask us. It's not a problem. Keys is actually quite an easy one, because I guess the assets are just like, like you said, property data, landlords, vendors, because the communication we can provide through the platform. But outside of that, it's like you said, a lot of people tend to use the keyware solution as their keyware management solution inside their office, because it provides that kind of robustness that they've been kind of lacking or looking for quite some time, or for 17 years per se.
Yeah, you must have been really pleased coming from a country with a nice open attitude to integration to come to the UK. You're not getting in here.
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of years here working in the software industry. But I think we've broken down some barriers now. We have some pretty good relations with different dev teams throughout the country. Some of them more forthcoming than others. Some of them more friendly than others. Some of them less, commercially free than others. But hey, everyone's a business. They're going to make some crust here and there, and this work, they are doing work behind it. But I guess in terms of how we sit, if that's happening, say if that was happening with Zoe as our mutual client, if she's going to get bent over and slapped with this fee for there, then why would we do that for her on our side? We try and make it really nice and streamlined for her and say, we'll do whatever you want, because the lifetime customer value of Zoe to us is more important than a quick 500, 600 quid.
That's because she'll destroy you socially if you don't make it. That's the power of boiling water, that is.
That is me laughing really awkwardly.
Brand boiling water.
When we're off camera, I'll give you names of people that I've destroyed in the past, and you can go and talk to them at the island.
You're trying to get kerfuffle done by 1 million paper cuts, aren't you? Good luck with that. Milton, there is a lead and diary management element system involved, isn't there? Do you want to just elaborate on that then, or maybe Zoe, or whoever can pick up?
Oh, you want to answer this one? You do it. Zoe probably knows it better than I do.
Yeah, that's how I sort of met Milton originally, without sort of naming names, because I'll get shot at dawn by doing it. We had a CRM system whose front end was really bad for marketing and dealing with inquiries. And obviously, as a result of that, we signed on with Inspect Real Estate. We'd used things in the past, other providers, different setups. In a nutshell, what it does is an easiest way of describing it, and I've just done a thing online for my landlords about this, is like one of the reasons why we're better than everybody else, is it intercepts your inquiries from the portals. But it goes a little bit further than the standard, but firing back a standard reply. It interacts, and what happens is, by the time we get into the office, we can have appointments booked into our diary. Like I say, we use it for the advertising now, so we don't actually use our CRM to put our properties up onto the portals. We use Inspect Real Estate. It's all linked in together. We can fire out documents that tenants might need. I'm trying to think. It does all the front end for us very well. And like I say, we've seen a massive change in terms of dealing with quality leads, because everyone gets leads from the portals. Yeah. But this seems to, pardon me French, weed out the shit.
So that's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because I've always said agents aren't short of leads. They are short of how they deal with those leads and get to the good ones. So is that some sort of have you got some sort of qualitative check going on then, Milton, that sift through those, or how are you managing to do that where so many CRM systems are failing?
Oh, look, we say it's a filtration process. We put barriers to entry because we're trying to, like you say, weed out the shit. We're trying to say, if you're serious about booking an appointment and you're serious about finding a property in Bedford, you have to jump through these hoops. Yeah. We make that pretty straightforward. But it's what's interesting. You said it really well, and it just reminds me of being in a letting agent back in the day. Tenants were never the problem. It was about getting to the good ones and utilising us as a resource far more effectively. And I find it not frustrating, and I guess everyone has their own way of dealing with inquiries on their front end. But what's interesting is we talk about, I don't want to go there with wasted time on leads as well. What's the other flip side of that story is how much time are you sitting behind your desk wasting time anyway, and then you've missed the opportunity. So I would say, there's different ways, and our system is working for Zoe, obviously, and it does work for the people that we do have it plugged in for. But, everyone's got a different journey. Everyone wants to be more hands-on. Some people are far too traditional for this kind of digital, I guess, journey for their customers and their agents and their staff. But, it's a 24/7 market. We're becoming more digital. People are digesting and communicating with you 24/7, and it's not just a 9 till 6 anymore. People are expecting to do it. And what's interesting about the real estate industry, it's a lot further behind than any other vertical that you can think of. And if you think about what you can actually book online, you can basically, I booked my hairdressing. See, I got a buzz cut 2 days ago because I'm so lazy and so time pressured. I just had a buzz cut because I don't want to get up in the morning, have a shower and have to comb it. The idea is I booked that online. You can book a hotel online. You can book a car online. And the only thing that we found, and this still happens in Australia, there's a lot of agents who don't use software like ours, is you can't book a viewing online. And it just seems crazy and then the flip side of that is people don't want to lose control. But what we say to them is, let's show you what controls you can put in place around controlling the diary, where you're going, who's actually going to be attending those appointments and booking them in. And there's a lot of, change is difficult, like anything. You get a new phone, I don't like this, I can't find out where it goes, and I don't know where that button clicks to. But if you give it some time and you give it some, ability to show its true colors and I guess the benefits you can have, it could have that flip side of now you become that agency is 24/7. You can respond. It becomes a USP in your pitch packs and your listing presentations. What else are you really driving for that can put you? You can say this is no one else is doing this in a marketing area. And I think that was one thing that I used to lead with at valuations with Pro Rentals when we were letting agents ourselves was we have this booking system and this is what it does. And we showed the landlord, prospective landlord, all the text messages and how we were dealing with their customers really, really like instantly. And they were like, oh, that's fantastic. And that was when we sort of just went, really sort of whoosh go with our business growth because we were providing something really, really different that no one else was providing at the time. And that's still happening in the UK.
When you said, here's all these potential tenants, and you press the random number generator, and it used to say 275. Things like that. By the way, just before you jump in there, when he said weeding out the shit, he wasn't talking about me. just before you jump on that, because I can see you making notes.
Now, what I was going to say is the back end stuff's really good as well from a sort of a management perspective. Is that every morning I get what's called a boss report, which tells me exactly how many tenants are waiting to book a viewing, how many tenants are booked into view, how long a property's been empty for, all the sort of information that as a manager you need to see. So then you can, if you want to get your negotiator, your list, or whoever it is that's responsible for that side of things, sit them down and say, come on, what's going on here? It goes so much further. When you're at the property, there's a little app on your phone. So once you've done a viewing, you can do a little report while you're at the property. So if you've got back-to-back viewings, which we're not doing at the moment, but when you go back to that, you can send a report straight through to the office. So I know exactly what's gone down. So I know if someone's going to be ringing up to book to, take it to the next level. The landlord gets it as well. So you can set it so the landlord gets a report. Yeah. It then pulls all them reports together to a weekly report that you can then send through to your landlords. So you've got that. And then there's also this fancy pants dashboard, which is brilliant because, again, it shows you how many, all the sort of stats that you need. Some CRMs do that, but unfortunately mine doesn't. But that, again, it's just like a quick snapshot to see how many empty properties, how many viewings have I done, how long's that property been on the market, how much rent has that landlord lost as a result of that property being vacant, which is really powerful when you're talking to a landlord who's been a little bit greedy about their rent. You can say, well, so there's all these little fancy little add-ons. It's not just about booking the viewings in; it's what it does around it as well. It's been really helpful with the COVID situation because we send a little questionnaire out asking, there's certain questions that you need to ask people nowadays. Yeah. And it's quite amusing when you get back. You ask the question, are you going to touch anything while you're in the property? Yeah. And then it bounces them because you then have to make if we don't use it on its own, it sort of supplements what my negotiators are doing because they can spend more time then building the relationships with the landlords and with the clients because all the other stuff, the admin side of it's all done for them.
So you've got that top level KPIs, if you like, as a business principle that really gives you, a health check on the business. Of course, then you can drill into any of those if any of them give you concern. But from your point of view, a really nice starter for a one-on-one meeting with a team member to help get the most out of them at the start of the day.
It's that, and obviously the reports that it pulls for the landlords are great because it justifies. You even down to how many calls have been made, how many emails you've sent, how many viewings you've done, what the result of those viewings were, is anybody potentially apply, and sending that to a landlord, like I say, is very powerful because it's not just you saying, well, not really, it's there in black and white or in technicolor, it's really useful,
So, Milton, I should know this because I'm an alleged prop tech, self-branded prop tech legend.
Sure.
I'm I know you have the basis of a CRM. Is it a fully fledged CRM package that can ably replace, is it for both sales and lettings? Is it just for lettings and property management? Can it do the whole length and breadth of functionality that some of the UK providers can do?
Not yet. That's probably the best way to say that. Not yet. And the reason we say that is, and people go, "Are you gunning? Are you going to be in competition with others people?" Well, I guess to a certain extent, I would say yes, but it's not because that's on a roadmap. It's always, again, going back to that start of the conversation, was we're always agent driven, and our agents always go, "What are you doing next? What are you doing next? Or what about this product?" And we're going down that kind of agent and customer journey, and what that really means for an agent to have things under one platform, the automation that should go in behind that process-driven workflow that is lettings and property management. So I guess the stack is we have a fair bit of stuff at the front, and the idea was we build stuff at the front, the back, and then see where the clients push us. At this stage, that's where it's at currently, but who's to know? Like, there could be something in the pipeline further down the track, and again, if it is, we're not trying to step on people's toes, is because that's what our clients want, and we do reinvest a lot of the profits across our global entities to back into our development team. We've got a pretty big development team. I think we've got like 35, 40-ish. So we have a big team, and that's where most of it goes to really grow and make products that agents really are asking for, and that's where it all goes to.
Yeah, that's really punchy. And I guess reading between the lines there, it feels like you're saying, look, if we can get the integration and with other parties, we're quite happy to just do that rather than obviously having to, recreate the wheel. But obviously, if we have to go down that route, then we will do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, and it just reminds me of something Andrew, my CEO, sort of reiterates. And when we would go and do demonstrations and things when we first got into the UK, it's just like, it's whatever the agent wants, because if their digital journey for their agency is, a bit of Reapit and a bit of IRE and a bit of Keys app or whatever it may be, that's completely up to them. And I know I mentioned other competitors, but that's completely fine with us, because we're not going to mandate things on people, because if people feel that solution is best for them, then that's great. And we, as I guess a software community, should be doing a little bit more of this as opposed to all this to help it make it easier, because it's not our data, it's our clients' data. If you do what they want, we're asking them of us.
Ultimately, everyone's out there now putting out the same line that we're an open ecosystem now. So they really need to start delivering on that promise, don't they?
Absolutely.
Players? And what I do like there is, just when you said IRE, I was going to go all Bob Marley, but I've held myself back.
Please don't.
The day I start singing is when this company is truly damaged. Okay, so in terms of obviously having the hardware, obviously fantastic, obviously cutting edge there. Having the software backed up by this huge team is great. One of the critical factors you've just hit on there, though, is time and time again for suppliers, they get very frustrated because their clients only use 10, 20, 50% of the package. How can you possibly be a screaming fan of any system when you don't know how to do it? Now, ultimately, they do need to look back in the mirror to a large degree, because either things like the user interface isn't as easy as it could be, but more typically, actually, they haven't dedicated enough time to the onboarding, whether that's the actual project management or whether that's the account management or the training. Give us a flavor of what you're able to do to help people get on board and to get the most out of it, both initially and to keep improving that usage over time.
There's a couple of different things. So with any of our platform plugins or any, software people on board, that needs to be an investment of time. And you need to have buy-in as well. A lot of the time you have a lot of the larger corporates, they kind of like, they'll be dictating something at the top, but at the front line where people are actually using it, there's no buy-in there. And I think there's a real big miscommunication of, no, we are doing this in the front line, but what's really happening is completely the 180 of that. So I think having some really open communication with your entire business is really important. Buy-in from all levels is really important as well. And when you invest time, it's about learning the systems really well. So going back to the onboarding process, it's known a lot about what you do as a business currently, which is the manual stuff, which is what software is to alleviate. So once we know all those processes, what happens after this, what happens after that, what happens after this, we then go away and we start tinkering the system, and we have this thing internally called, let's get it to that vanilla. Let's get it to that vanilla, which is like the basic setup. We do a lot of work in the background before we go live with the system. So that's like we've got your, your email forwarding rules. So we're accepting all your applicants from the portals. We've got your properties automatically feeding in, so there's no data duplication, all those sorts of things. And we can have, book a viewing buttons on your websites to start really funneling all your leads into one place. If it's keys, we've got everything set up already. So when we go, hey, Simon, when can we do this go live? Your system's ready to go. It's ready to go live. When can we have everyone who's going to use it commit to it? And then we basically say minimum of an hour. And then we have basically like a stage 3 release. We go, right, this is what you can learn on day 1. And there's a lot to learn. So we don't want you to try and digest it all. I want you to take away these 5 things, and I want you to do them really, really well. And if you want to, I'll book something in within the week to come back in again, and then we'll come back in the next week, and we'll sort of like gear you up. But at any point, our support is always there to sort of dial into. So it's either myself, Luke, Rebecca, Afton, or Andrew can take those calls. The idea is if you're spending too long on it, then you just need to give us a call, and we'll walk you through it. Book something in, we can dedicate time. It's pretty ad hoc, and I guess that's what really subscriptions are for, is for the use of the software, but it's also for that support to make sure you're getting supported to run your business more efficiently and effectively instead of wasting time clicking buttons and deleting things. So that's what really subscriptions are for that support. So yeah, that's kind of a bit of a top version of how we go about onboarding and ongoing support, I guess, in a nutshell, really, yeah.
I get the vanilla side of it perfectly. I mean, I think the challenge has been is that a lot of agents feel a little bit aggrieved because they have had experiences before where if they haven't got everything, set up as they wanted to at the beginning, early stage, quite often the supplier goes off like a rat down the drain pipe, and you don't see them again. So they try to do too much up front, which leads to them making certain calculations or judgments about how the product should and could work. And actually, it's really when you've been using a system for a little bit of time that you really understand the capabilities, don't you? And there's nothing more annoying for a supplier where they've tried to be almost too clever to start off with, and then they say, oh no, we need it all changed. And so I get that vanilla thing. It really is. It is, as long as you have got that ethos, that methodology of delivering and continuing to change and enhance it for the client afterwards. That's
absolutely. I totally agree, and I think it's a lot of expectation setting as well, because when you're dealing with so many moving parts, like for keys, it's relatively straightforward. There is a bit of onboarding and a bit of training that goes after it, but once you sort of understanding key loans, the statuses, it becomes quite easy. Things like our lead and applicant diary management system, there's so many moving parts in there. The communication that goes through the diary, how we work out all the travel time. We say there is a bit of work that's involved, and when we even onboard you and go live, it's a big trust exercise to let that system run your diary, and then you've got things like the reporting, which Zoe sort of touched on before, like understanding what those reports mean. We can make those bespoke, and then going, well, what's number one across this? Why is it red and why is it green? And understanding those things. But I always try and liken it going, well, when you get a new phone, you just go, well, I don't know where anything is, and it clicks here and clicks there. Give it some time. Right. And you'll understand where things go to. You'll understand what reports are. You'll understand what the stats are. And it's an ever-growing thing where you need to sort of dedicate some time. So expectation setting, I guess, kind of proactive sort of, reporting and understanding that, and just reaching out to us and letting our clients know that they can sort of dial in at any point to get that sort of information as and when they need.
Cool. And you'd concur with that, Zoe? It would be great. It would make great TV if you said that was all bollocks.
No, Jeremy, I would say it was. I've used quite a lot of tech, I say, shiny things. I tend to, and it's new, I want to try it. But I'm one of these people, if you ask some suppliers, I try and break stuff. Yeah. And I will use stuff within an inch of its life. So I'm not one of these 10%ers. And I think that's sometimes why I'm not happy with certain bits of tech, is because I'm trying to use it to its capacity, to the most you can get out of it. Now, unfortunately with me, I'm a little bit impatient and I want it all to work yesterday. And to be honest, these guys have been really good and really patient with me. and getting me to the point where now it's working like a dream, both the front end marketing stuff. So much so we don't have any, like we used to use Vibra Alto for our front end, for our sales and our lettings. Got rid of it. Everything now goes straight from IRE to the portals, and everything's managed there. The only thing I say is they don't do window sheets, so you need to sort that out.
Send me an email.
You know, the support's great. You know, like you say, sometimes you work with some companies and you try and get hold of someone in support and you send them an email or you're on hold for hours and you get a reply a week later, which, as I just said, I'm impatient. I need to know the answer now. They've always been really good. Luke's brilliant. He comes back really, really quickly. And again, with the front end marketing, it is quite bespoke and it is set to your needs. So there is a bit of work there involved. So, you know, I'm raving about how great these things are, but you do need to put the effort in to get them to be great. You know, somehow it's only as good as the data and your setup. And if you're not set up and you've not got your data right, it's not going to work. So there is a little bit of time at the outset, but once you've spent that bit of time, like I say, the front end runs like a dream. The keys are, you know, I'll never go back, touch wood, if nothing goes wrong.
That responsibility, though, from self-responsibility from the agents is often overlooked, isn't it? I always, obviously, in my previous CRM company, we had people saying, you know, I hear, you know, some of these very best agents shouting about how brilliant it is, and we're just not experiencing that. And there's a very simple reason for that. They've put the time and energy into making that actually work. And we always, well, I don't know whether it's still the case, but I certainly loved people like you, Zoe, who I used to get in a lot of trouble for calling you high maintenance clients. Because if you can get it working for you, and if you have an ethos of listening to these businesses, it puts you in such good stead for the rest of the marketplace to go afterwards. And whilst it, you know, you might have a few tears late at night, it puts a platform for success that really sets you apart.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's funny you say that. There's all these different stories because we've been doing it for a while, and his name was Perry BB. Nothing to do with Perry Power, of course. And he used to not give us grief, but he was one of those clients who was just like, "What about this? What about this? What about this?" But when you think about it, when you get those clients, they're the gold, because they're the ones that really, really, really push everyone in every single department to go, it's not working, get it to work. And we basically reallocate sources, because if it's going to happen for him, it's going to happen for everyone. So let's just fix it now. But, you know, consequently, like this makes everything so much easier for their clients who kind of follow in behind that person, because you put the hard work in, and you know, and so I kind of agree. Those high maintenance clients, they are worth the wait. You know, they pay the bums sometimes.
If they overstep the mark, send them a load of manure. That works equally well. Okay, guys. I mean, it sounds really, really exciting, and we're going to come on to the great Kerfuffle deal as well. You've got there. What's next for you at the moment, Milton? Clearly, you've got this. It's a truly global business now. You've got this big team of developers there. What's next that you can tell us about, at least on the roadmap?
On the roadmap, you know, we are working towards a complete letting solution. So what that means, everything you could possibly want at the front end of your journey, in terms of if you are doing tenant find, doing the leases and all that sort of stuff, there will be a full package suite. So right from prospecting, generating business with our BDM product, listing the properties, dealing with the leads, the viewings, doing all the checking of the applications and drawing up the lease agreements, all that stuff will be done through IRE. So it will be a full package suite. There are some stuff that we are working on the back end in terms of, you know, lease renewals, vacating the clients. That's all I can sort of really say so far, because we've only been here in the UK for 2 years, and it's interesting. I even had a conversation at 7 o'clock this morning with our support team about another product now we're going to transfer across. Because someone has had a conversation with me, said, I'm having problems with this. And we said, well, hey, we've got a solution for that. So we're going to bring it across, and hopefully that we'll be able to localize that and make it something that works for the UK environment. So as we go forward, you'll probably see more releases, you know, and hopefully we can create a bit more, instead of having, like you say, Simon, instead of having 10 different solutions, there could be IRE and X to create that sort of digital journey for agents. So let's log in, let's interface, and hopefully we can sort of tick the boxes for more people as we move forward with their digital solution.
Great, and I found a magical review on a certain pink-based review platform, which and this is a woman who knows what she's talking about. Talking about you here, Milton says, innovative, simple to use. Well, if you didn't, he wrote it.
I spelled your name right. It's good.
Team are really helpful, always on hand to give us the edge on the competition, contributing to us being the market leader. So, as I said, we do give them access to write their own reviews. That's a complete lie. That's not true at all. You've been really kind, Milton, haven't you? So, in terms of, do you want to just talk through the kerfuffle deal you've given for our members? I love these ones, by the way, because these are scarcity-based ones. So, get them while they're here. This allows me to go into my QVC mode, by the way, and sort of, go on, they're gone.
No, it's true. So, because they're hardware, we do have to pre-order them. But what we've done for you guys is, because the 575, which was already a great deal, we've gone, I guess, above and beyond with the Kerfuffle members at 475. And that means they can actually get a panel for 475, which is well below even our cost. So we'll be absorbing some of that stuff here to get actual keyword panels into your office. I believe there is a scarcity of the first 200 members, I think, which you've got there on the screen. So, yes.
I'll tell you that now. There's one of them gone, because even though I've only got essentially 2 sets of keys, that I'm having one of these at my house. This is perfect for me going out to the boozer. Where am I?
I'll tell you what, we've actually made a little mini one. It's about just half the size of this.
I'm genuinely done. Sold.
That's one. It's yours.
Good. Well, look, thank you very much for that. Obviously, we'll obviously get that out there as much as anywhere. It sounds like these people have got to be talking to you at the moment. If Zoe's experience is there, is anything to go by on that front. Do have a look. Go to obviously IRE's landing page on the Kerfuffle website. Obviously, we put a lot more information there, and if you can keep us updated, Milton, as well with those integrations there, that's a really useful tab for people who obviously want to know whether it works with not just the CRMs, but sometimes there are other combinations of supply you can work with, aren't there? So
absolutely.
And I'm more than happy for people to speak to me as well, because obviously sometimes you don't want the salesman, do you? You want the person using it. So,
it's much better coming from you, Zoe, than me.
That's very kind. So, all 200 people, please phone Zoe. Right, I've got this is to turn the tables round. It seems that David is stalking us from the other side. He just made the point there that Milton is a giant. He's 26 foot tall, standing up. It was a striking combo, hence why he liked your dashboard. I hope he's talking about the hardware.
Hardware.
Zoe, this seems like the most suitable one to end on. Question for Zoe: what is her most embarrassing key-related incident? And we'll take this after the watershed. So, is there anything that's worthwhile that you can get out there?
I can't think of anything key-related, but there's loads of things that I could tell you about when we've done property visits. We found with beds and things like that.
I think we've come up with a panel show actually there, haven't we? That's a separate one. That's for the podcast. As I
series.
promised Milton at the beginning, this is the serious one.
He did.
Guys,
he did.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's really appreciated. Thanks for everyone who's been watching. It must be good. I've just noticed my dad jumped on. So you've done well there, Milton. You might have 2 sales by the end of the day.
Amazing. Thank you. It was worth it.
All over this.
Nice one. Thanks, mate.
Guys, thank you very much. See you soon.